After a 10-hour flight, Olivia Parker's body felt like lead, her mind buzzing with exhaustion. Every nerve ached, every muscle screamed for rest. All she could think about was home, the smell of her mother's cooking, the sparkle of holiday lights, the warmth of familiar hugs after a long journey. In her mind, she pictured the perfect reunion, a smile, laughter, someone whispering, "You must be so tired, welcome home." But the moment she stepped through the airport doors, reality hit like a punch. Her mother didn't smile. She didn't open her arms. She barely even glanced at Olivia's face. Instead, she pressed a folded piece of paper into Olivia's hand. "At home, this needs to be done first," her mother said, flat and unyielding. No welcome. No, "How was your flight?" No warmth, just instructions. Olivia stood frozen, suitcase still in her hand, confusion tightening in her chest. Maybe her mom was stressed. Maybe she didn't notice how tired Olivia was. She followed silently, excitement draining with every step. Then she looked at the paper. Again, tasks, chores, schedules, not a single word about rest or care. And in that moment, it hit her like ice. After a 10-hour flight, my mom didn't hug me. She handed me a list. That's when Olivia realized she wasn't invited home. She was summoned. Olivia Parker had always been the responsible one, the independent, self-sufficient daughter who managed her life with quiet determination. Living miles away from her family in a bustling city, she had built a world of her own, a small apartment, a steady career, and routines that gave her control over her days. She prided herself on handling challenges alone, making decisions carefully, and never depending on anyone else for her success or happiness. But holidays always meant returning home. A place that should have been filled with warmth and love. A house that smelled like baked cookies, twinkled with fairy lights, and echoed with laughter. Yet, even before she arrived, Olivia remembered the subtle unease that often lingered behind those festive walls. From a young age, she had been the helper, the fixer of arguments, the planner of events, the one quietly ensuring everything ran smoothly. Her parents relied on her naturally, her golden child brother, charming and carefree, rarely lifting a finger. While he charmed visitors with ease, Olivia worked behind the scenes, mediating squabbles, organizing holiday chaos, and smoothing over the little crises that seemed inevitable in a large family. She remembered childhood holidays vividly, decorating the tree while her brother goofed off, wrapping gifts while parents supervised the cooking, making sure everyone's expectations were met. She had always thought family meant love, support, and laughter, a team working together. But as she grew older, she began noticing a pattern. Her efforts were expected, never acknowledged. Her work was assumed, her sacrifices invisible. Still, nostalgia tugged at her heart. The scent of cinnamon, the sparkle of the tree lights, the distant sound of her brother laughing there reminded her of simpler times, of joy that felt possible. But mixed with that warmth was the subtle sting of old roles, unspoken rules, and the quiet expectation that she would always be the one to serve. Olivia Parker inhaled deeply as she set her suitcase down, bracing herself. She knew this visit wouldn't just be a reunion, it would test her patience, her boundaries, and her sense of self. "I always thought family meant support, not assignment." Olivia Parker stepped into her family home, suitcase in hand, expecting the warmth she had imagined during her long flight. Holiday decorations sparkled around the living room, the Christmas lights twinkling cheerfully, the scent of freshly baked cookies lingering in the air. But something felt off. The house, though festive, carried a subtle chill and invisible tension that made her pause for a moment. At the doorway, her mother stood there with a neutral expression, her posture rigid, eyes briefly flicking toward Olivia before returning to the tasks at hand. There was no hug, no welcoming smile, no cheerful acknowledgement of Olivia finally being home. Instead, the faintly clipped tone in her mother's voice seemed to measure Olivia's every movement, as though her presence were tolerated rather than celebrated. Her brother, the golden child, lounged on the couch, smirking as he whispered jokes at Olivia's expense. "Of course Olivia will handle all the chaos. She's always so good at it," he murmured. The words light to anyone else, but carrying an undertone of superiority. The cousins raced past her, knocking over small decorations. Their chaos, adding a layer of distraction that barely hid the family's subtle dynamics. Every interaction, every glance seemed loaded. Passively aggressive remarks, gentle taunts disguised as humor, and her mother's controlled tone all whispered a single message. Olivia's role was already written, and her obedience expected. She tried to brush it off, attributing the coldness to holiday stress. But the knot in her stomach grew tighter with each passing second. She paused, forcing a polite smile, reminding herself, maybe I'm imagining things. Yet, deep down, she knew the feeling wasn't imagined. The contrast between the warmth of the decorations and the chill of her family's reception made the tension almost palpable. Every gesture and word hinted at the unspoken rules. This was more than discomfort, it was a test, a subtle assertion of control. Olivia Parker felt the old patterns of her childhood. Dynamics resurface, her role as the quiet fixer, the mediator, the one expected to serve. Her mind began to prepare, cataloguing the behaviors, noting the micro-tensions while keeping her composure intact. Olivia Parker barely had time to set down her suitcase before the bomb dropped. Her mother, calm yet authoritative, informed her that she would be in charge of watching her younger cousins for the entire holiday weekend. There was no discussion, no asking if Olivia wanted to help, only a quiet expectation that she would obey. Her brother, lounging on the couch with that familiar smirk, chuckled softly. "You're so good with kids, Olivia," he teased. The words were innocent on the surface, but the undertone stung, an unspoken reminder of the role Olivia had always been assigned. She was the family's default caretaker, the one whose independence and personal life seemed secondary to everyone else's convenience. Olivia froze for a moment, letting the instructions sink in. She had flown across states with excitement and hope for warmth, connection, and celebration, and now she was immediately handed responsibility that felt more like servitude than support. The children ran around chaotically, oblivious to the tension that had just been placed squarely on Olivia's shoulders. Her parents, already packed and preparing for their own holiday plans, barely acknowledged the growing weight on her. Each gesture from them seemed to confirm what she had feared all along: her needs, her fatigue, and her presence didn't matter. They were irrelevant to the holiday schedule. A mix of disbelief and simmering anger rose inside Olivia. She told herself that maybe she was overreacting. Maybe they just needed help. Maybe I was overthinking. Yet, deep down, she recognized the pattern. This was the same dynamic that had silently dictated her childhood. She had always been expected to manage, mediate, and sacrifice without question, while others enjoyed the fruits of her effort. Every instinct in her body wanted to snap, to argue, or to leave, but she forced herself to stay composed. The scene was familiar, yet each detail now sharpened her awareness: the smirk on her brother's face, the casual dismissal from her parents, the children's chaos, all conspiring to make her compliance automatic. The moment Olivia Parker stepped fully into the house, the weight of her family's expectations hit her like a tidal wave. Her younger cousins, energetic and unruly, were practically dumped into her arms, leaving her scrambling to manage toys, snacks, and the chaos of their endless questions. Drinks were spilled, ornaments teetered on the edge of tables, and the noise seemed almost orchestrated to test her patience. Her brother lounged comfortably on the couch, smirking as he whispered jokes to anyone who would listen. "Olivia always does everything for us," he said, the laughter in his voice masking the superiority he felt. Guests passing by chuckled lightly, unaware or deliberately ignoring the stress pressing down on her. Every polite smile she offered was met with another veiled jab or helpful suggestion from her parents. Olivia felt herself shrinking under the weight of it all. She moved from task to task, mechanically tending to spilled drinks, missing homework, and tantrums, all while maintaining a calm exterior. Inside, anger and frustration surged, but she forced herself to stay composed, knowing any sign of emotion would only reinforce the role her family expected her to play. The passive-aggressive comments and subtle digs were relentless. Every time she completed a task, a new one was quietly added, as if her efforts were invisible. Appreciation? None. No gratitude. Barely a glance. Olivia realized that no matter how much she did, She was expected to do more her role, as the family helper had become a default. Unspoken demand. A storm of internal tension built, anger mingling with hurt. For years, she had been conditioned to serve without complaint. But this moment felt different. Her mind catalogued every smirk, every joke, every tiny act of entitlement, quietly plotting the shift she knew was coming. Her thoughts crystallized into a single, painful recognition: she had been treated like staff. Her identity overshadowed by obligation. She smiled politely, her hands moving quickly, but inside, something broke. I smiled, but something inside me shut down. After hours of chaos, Olivia Parker made a conscious choice. She would not react. No sighs, no raised eyebrows, no sharp words. Instead, she embraced silence, a shield and a tool. Every comment, every passive-aggressive jab, she let slide while her mind worked at full capacity. She observed her mother closely, noting subtle tells: the slight twitch of a finger when annoyed, the tone shift when her authority was challenged, the way instructions were phrased to assert control. Her brother's entitlement became glaringly obvious to him. Move freely, confident that no one would ever oppose him, expecting Olivia to absorb every task without complaint. Every glance, every word, every movement in the room became data. Olivia mapped the patterns of manipulation silently in her mind, noting who relied on her compliance and who might notice a change if she refused. The chaos around her, the children racing, toys falling, adults laughing or muttering comments, faded into the background. Her calm exterior masked an internal storm of strategy. She mentally rehearsed her response, planning carefully for the exact moment when she would set boundaries without drama, yet command attention. Each second of silence strengthened her control, turning observation into power. Olivia understood one vital truth: power didn't come from shouting or confrontation. It came from patience, awareness, and timing. The audience can feel her intelligence and calculated restraint, anticipating the moment she would turn the table on her family. A single thought anchored her growing strategy. After hours of observation and silent calculation, Olivia Parker finally spoke. Her voice was calm, steady, and unwavering. There was no anger, no drama, just clarity and authority. She didn't shout. She didn't demand attention. She simply stated a single boundary that changed everything. I will help where I choose, not where I'm summoned. The words hung in the room like a sudden pause in the chaos. The energy shifted immediately. Her brother, who had been smirking and joking moments before, froze. His confident grin faltered, replaced with uncertainty and a flicker of fear. The smugness that had shielded him from consequence disappeared in an instant. Her parents, too, were stunned. They had always expected compliance, automatic obedience. But Olivia had silently prepared, choosing the perfect moment to assert herself without aggression. For the first time, they realized that their control over her was not absolute. The playful jokes, subtle manipulations, and unspoken demands could no longer dominate her. Even the children, racing around the room moments ago, seemed to sense the change in energy. The house, once buzzing with control chaos, fell into a quiet tension. Every eye turned to Olivia, and in that moment, the power dynamic shifted completely. For the audience, this is the dopamine hit they've been waiting for. CALM authority triumphs over entitlement. Olivia's single, measured sentence dismantled. Months or even years of internal frustration and expectation. I said one sentence, and the room went quiet. The moment Olivia Parker set her boundary, the room shifted. What had seemed like a typical holiday weekend spiraled into chaos. Her parents exchanged anxious glances, their carefully planned trip now teetering on the edge of disruption. Every task they had delegated to Olivia suddenly became a problem. Her mother tried subtle guilt tactics. We just thought you'd help. You've always been so reliable. Her tone was soft, persuasive, but this time, Olivia didn't flinch. She calmly continued supervising the children, responding only when necessary, letting their attempts at emotional manipulation crash harmlessly around her. Her father, usually silent but commanding, tried veiled threats and reminders of family duty, but Olivia's composed presence rendered them powerless. Even her brother attempted a joke, meant to regain control and lighten the tension, but the humor fell flat. He could no longer rely on her automatic compliance. The family scrambled, delegating tasks, correcting their own mistakes, and trying to salvage their holiday plans. The room, once structured by their expectations, now bent to Olivia's silent authority. The children, oblivious to the adult panic, were calmer than the adults themselves a mirror to the growing imbalance in the room's energy. After the whirlwind of tension and silent power shifts, Olivia Parker finally allowed herself a quiet moment of clarity, observed, calculated, and asserted her boundary. And now the outcome was evident. Her family could no longer take her for granted. Without a single raised voice or dramatic confrontation, Olivia began gathering her things. Each movement was deliberate, each step measured. She didn't need to lecture or justify herself. Her calm composure alone had spoken louder than words ever could. The weight of years spent complying, appeasing, and absorbing unspoken expectations lifted from her shoulders. As she stepped outside, the cool air filled her lungs, a symbol of the freedom she had earned. The holiday chaos, the guilt tactics, and the subtle manipulations faded behind her. For the first time, Olivia prioritized her own peace over anyone else's expectations. She understood that self-respect isn't loud. It's quiet, deliberate, and unwavering. Looking back at the house, she felt a sense of personal growth. Patience, observation, and measured action had allowed her to reclaim control of her life without causing unnecessary conflict. The experience wasn't about revenge. It was about asserting her worth and choosing herself. For the first time, I chose myself. Olivia Parker's story is a powerful reminder that setting boundaries matters more than appeasing guilt. Just because someone is family doesn't mean they can take advantage of your time, energy, or kindness. Choosing when to help and when to say no is not selfish. It's strength. Silence, observation, and calm confidence can be far more powerful than yelling or arguing. By staying composed, Olivia reclaimed control, earned respect, and protected her peace. Her experience teaches us that personal boundaries are essential, even in the most familiar relationships. Now it's your turn. How would you handle a situation like Olivia's? Would you comply, stay silent, or finally assert yourself? What would you have done in Olivia's place? Share your thoughts and see how others deal with family expectations. Your perspective could inspire someone to stand up for themselves too.